Texas. And I've had the opportunity, as Valentina mentioned, to meet her a few years ago and develop a connection based upon our mutual love for wanting to help people and desire for them to have the best possible lives. My background starts off in the academic space. Had a strong desire in my beginnings of wanting to help people was about students, helping students to understand how they can eventually be successful in college and beyond. And that grew into helping individuals try to understand how leaders and teams can be more and more successful together. And then from leaders and teams to leaders and followers in the dance space, as I teach dance internationally. And that has grown and flowered into this idea about how do we, in the space of relationships that people have with one another, moving towards what Valentina calls happily ever after, having that space be able to be as successful as possible. The journey towards it, being able to enjoy that journey as much as possible, and then maximize what you can get out of it. So yes, I mean, I'm very, as Valentina mentioned, very passionate about helping people get there. It's not an easy route, and it does take some uncomfortable conversations, some looking in the mirror, kind of hard and deep, and saying, look, I think I've got these things really well together, and I got to work on these other things here. But it can be done if we can focus on it and decide that who we want to be and the person that we want to be is accomplishable.
Fabulous. Thank you, James. So let's get to business. The topic of today, putting you on the spot a little bit, but you like being on the spot, so I have no regrets. Is for you to share with us what are, in your opinion, the top 3 qualities that men really appreciate in women. Of course, in a romantic context, but I think overall, in the context of masculine, feminine dynamics, what do you think men are looking for in women?
Sure. So this is I don't know if these are in any particular order. When I jotted down some thoughts, I was like, you know what? Let me just sort of push it all out. And then I thought about, let me prioritize these. And then I realized as I started pressure testing it against myself and against the people that I know, I'm not sure that they are. But here's the first one that came to mind. And that is knowing the difference between cooperation and collaboration, but be able to do both. Knowing the difference between cooperation and collaboration and be able to do both. Let me just unpack that just a bit. Collaboration meaning like you and I are going to work on one idea together. What's your way of getting there? What's my way of getting there? And how do we need to operate in that in order to accomplish this goal together? Meanwhile, cooperation means you have a goal and I'm going to cooperate with you to help you achieve that goal. Or I have a goal and you're going to cooperate with me to help me get that goal. I have a structure. I have a plan. I have a way that I want to do that. And you're going to cooperate with me to do that, or the reverse, you do. But they're not the same things. And I think that way too often there's this idea that you bring your 49.9% and I bring my 49.9% and then we march forward together. Sometimes it's not that way at all. And often, many times, it's not that way at all. Someone has a plan, someone has a direction, someone has a desire to do something. And what your job is to help them do that, to cooperate with them along the lines that they are trying to move the relationship forward. What do you think about that, Ms. Valentina?
I think it's a very interesting contrast to make, and an important one. Because I think the two words are often used as synonyms, as complete synonyms, and I don't think that is the case. And I think that is what you're trying to explain here, that ultimately cooperating with someone on their goals is not the same as or collaborating on a joint project. Is that what you said? Did I get it the right way?
Exactly. And it's really connected to the second one, which is knowing the difference between independence and interdependence, right? And that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with being an independent person who can manage themselves, manage their bills, walk through life and be able to do these things on your own. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But there are a set of skills that bundled together we call interdependence. And it's in this interdependent space that we can learn to, in a healthy way, rely upon and interweave ourselves with an important, significant other across from us and begin to build something that is of significance. In the absence of us working on those interdependent skills, we have to then know that those skills are weak, that those muscles are weak. They may have atrophied or they may never existed. So then we have to go to the gym, the relationship gym, to build up those interdependent muscles. Right? In today's marketplace, many of our female friends have built up very strong independent muscles. They have built up very strong independent muscles. Right? But when they want to go into a relationship where they are both collaborating and cooperating with a man, they do not have the interdependent muscles. Right. And then it puts them in a situation where they're trying to lift a weight or trying to run a race without having fitness, right? Relationship fitness in the interdependency space.
I see. I think that makes a lot of sense. I completely agree. Having been in the space of being a personal trainer, part of women who wanted to be independent and strong and, not needing a man, and I can do myself, I totally understand how a lot of the women that I work with, myself included, have been finding it difficult to find the kind of partner that they could build something with. Because it's, as you've been working with corporate leadership for a long time, it's difficult to have two CEOs in the company. There can't be two heads of anything. I think the problem with having two partners who are way better at doing independence and not very good at creating this common space, the interdependence is really we're struggling a lot these days in relationships, or at least the people I work with, the women I work with, has to have a lot to overcome. So what is the third one? So the first one was understanding the difference and actually mastering both cooperation and collaboration. The second one, cultivating a strong sense of independence for themselves, for their own purpose and personal self-actualization. But at the same time, if the goal is to be in a healthy relationship, also learning how to create something together, how to build together interdependence of operating out of one's strengths, so expressing those qualities and strengths, but at the same time being able and willing to invite, receive help when there are parts of ourselves that are not so well developed. So that's when the partner comes in to say, hey, today I only have 30% capacity to deal with. Can you fill in the gap and so on? Is that what you mean?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's knowing the difference between independence and interdependence and recognizing how one leads to traits that bring people together, interdependence, and allows you to be ready for that and be a fit to be able to manage that, give and take that. And the other lets you, strengthens you to be on your own. Right. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes that's how and where we need to be. But just recognizing that these two different skill sets build different strengths and give you different fitnesses. And one of them is really, really great for a relationship with someone, and one not so much.
Well, what I can say from personal experience, practiced my independent skills for 6 years, it's actually quite hard to open up to interdependence, because like anything in life, part of your body is trained, right? If you have really, really strong upper body strength, really, really, heavy duty muscles, but you have chicken legs, it's not really great, is it? For those,
you're exactly right.
so it's a bit like that, right? If we become too focused on how it's all about me, it's going to be hard for us to connect with the person, because we're not going to have the right level of empathy, I think, on how this person may not feel in need of being alone right now, and that causes a lot of avoidant behavior. Actually, I would like to say, like, a lot of people end up Okay, fine. Well, you do your thing, you do your thing. That's where disconnection happens. Some of our favorite words. All right. So, what was the third one? Did you mention the third one?
No, I haven't done the third one. The third one is, and again, there's a theme perhaps through each of these, but the third one, as you pick up the theme here, is healthy masculinity and the ability to put those traits to the side, right? To be able to see something else other than healthy masculinity. So again, you and I have talked about, Valentina, that femininity and masculinity can be applied across genders, right? Just because I happen to identify as a female doesn't mean that I do not have masculinity. Of course I do. Of course I do. And the reverse is true. So what I'm saying is that I'm thinking about the healthy masculinity that you do have, maybe the unhealthy masculinity that you do have, especially some of us who have spent time in that quote unquote corporate space. In order to be successful in some of these professions, you better be very good at a set of what we call quote unquote masculine traits. And you will have developed these over time. You've probably gotten quite good at them, which is part of the reason you're so successful. Well, recognizing that some of the pieces around quote unquote healthy masculinity are also the pieces that we say about men folk that push them away from relationships. You may have developed a set of skills that we call quote unquote healthy masculinity that precludes you from engaging in deep and meaningful relationships with the person across from you. Right? So there's nothing wrong with having developed these quote unquote healthy masculine traits that may also, the flip side of them is that they are not quite so healthy, right? There's nothing wrong with having developed it, and you may have had to do it in order to be successful in this other part of your life. But what comes with that? What comes with that are a set of behaviors that we often say that men have that we don't like. Right? We'll show up to the table reading our resume of, hey, I'm a good woman. I've got my own place. I've got my own car. I can take care of myself financially. I can vacation by myself. I just took myself on a fantastic holiday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't mention, I'm a good woman too. I know how to turn a house into a home. I know how I've gone to therapy. I've gotten my baggage together. I've dealt with my issues. I've worked through some things. We forget about those other characteristics that are oh so critical as well. So the third one, healthy masculinity and the ability to put those traits over here and see what else we might need to work
on. I think that's a very interesting take on this because, and I just want to, I become confusing. Why is healthy masculinity in a woman an attractive quality for a man? So I'll contrast this with a scenario where let's first date. Let's say we didn't know each other. We went on a first date. And you know me well enough by now to know that I'll be bragging about the fact that I'm running my own business. I've got my own house. I've got a dog. I can pay for holidays. I can pay for, hotels and all of that. Right? Reality, these are facts. I'm not saying this to show off. I'm saying this because it's a reality of my life. So let's say the hyper independent woman would be like, well, I don't need a. I'd probably insist on taking half of the bill, because I can and you can't buy me or anything like that. So I'm sending you all the what I would call unhealthy masculine signals, even though when I'm on my own, I'm single and it's a good thing to be capable of taking care of myself, right? You as a man in your own right, you would all for that. It's great that she can take care of herself. It's great that she's not asking me to pay her bills. But there's a fine balance there. At what point me being this independent woman becomes off-put? So can you tell me your feedback on that? What do you think about it?
Sure. Again, these traits are just traits, right? They're just things. It's what we do with the things as to whether or not they're positive or negative. So we take that example. And if the man that you are looking for is the kind of guy who wants to be the person that can stand next to you and do these sort of what you may hear Valentina and I describe as may feel to you as somewhat traditional roles, right? That he wants to be able to provide and actually provide, be able to provide a protective energy so that you can feel as fully feminine as you choose to be. If this is the case, then if you're pushing out this provider energy, and if you're pushing out this protective energy, then where is he supposed to sit? What is he supposed to do? His role is unclear. You're in his space. You're in the space you want him to be without creating the space for him to be there. So, right? And so then what is he supposed to do? If he slides into what we call a set of traits that might be described as feminine, that may not be attractive to you. Right? So he's trying to move into his space, and there you are. He's trying to be the kind of provider and protector that is healthy and reasonable, but there you are. Right? And again, maybe there's nothing wrong with it, but if the kind of guy you want is the kind of guy who instinctively does these things, then understand that those traits that you're exhibiting, even if they show up in a quote unquote healthy way, don't deliver to him the opportunity to be the kind of man you want him to be. If you're looking for a different kind of guy, if you're looking for a 50-50 guy, that what I just said doesn't apply. If you're looking for a 50-50 guy, right? When the robber shows up and both of you can go fight the robber, if that's the kind of guy you're looking for, okay, right? When the bill comes, he just rips it in half and gives you your half, okay. If that's the kind of guy you're looking for, right?
Okay.
I use this example. I was out with a friend who happens to be female, and she also happens to be my sister, a lovely woman. And she is, I would say, a traditional lady and all of these wonderful things, right? But life has organized itself with her to where she has a set of quote unquote healthy masculine traits. We're out at dinner, or breakfast, brunch. The bill comes. She goes to reach for it, and the bumps into a glass of water and spills the water, right? And she's like, oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. I said, well, that's because you're out of position, right? She knows how I am. She knows how I operate. So that bill has nothing to do with you when you're out with me. They don't have anything to do with you. When the bill comes, I don't care where she puts it. It belongs to me. It belongs to me. That's my job. And had you been in position, you would have sat there and grabbed that water and took a sip. I could have grabbed the check and taken care of that, and everything would have been the way that we would like for it to be, right? And so we laughed and joked about it. But my point is, if you want a certain kind of guy, you have to recognize that are my behaviors precluding him from even seeing the kind of the woman that I really want to be, even though I have to live a certain way, right? And am I in his position when he shows up? Have I created this space for the person that I want?
Okay, so I would like people to I see a few people who I know might identify with hyper independent women who might have the check. I know I was like that before. By the way, you might, darling. Just so you know, and I'll be live on the internet saying this. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, people who are currently online, are live, do you have any comments, any thoughts, because I think it's a fascinating topic, this idea that, men want women to be independent, but also to be feminine. So to be able to take care of themselves, because I don't think any man really wants a partner who is completely dependent on them. I don't know, maybe there are some guys there who are getting a kick out of complete control of a woman's life. Not the if that's the case. I know in the old days, men were totally responsible for a woman's survival in ways, where this path comes from. But I don't know whether in our current world that's still the case. So, ladies, anybody who's online, any comments in terms of what what he's just described? Or gentlemen, do you have any comments that would be something to add to this? I will leave you to write anything to write. In the meantime, I'll just quickly draw the conclusion of our conversation. So the first quality that James is very attractive is the ability to balance cooperation and collaboration, which means shifting or balancing how can I put this? The goal orientation of the task that we're doing together. Sometimes it's about my project, sometimes it's about building something together, but it's really knowing which one is which and when it applies. I think that's what you said. Correct me if I didn't get.
That's it. Know the difference between cooperation and collaboration, and be able to do both, right? Be able to. I think you used the example of sort of upper body and lower body strength. If we're going to use a fitness example, they're different things, and the ability to cooperate with a man is exceptionally desirable.
Okay. So the second one was balancing independence and interdependence. So having a healthy dose of each of them, and really knowing when is it appropriate, desired to practice your independence muscles, to be a fully complete, woman or man on your own, able to take care of himself, and when to open the door to be helped. One thing that I really my life about men is that they need to feel needed.
Yes. I think that's very fair. If you can do it all, that's wonderful. But if you can also leave space for us to do it together, and I can know this and sort of smell this and think this and see it in your behavior and see it in how we organize ourselves when we go out on the first date, on the first walk, when I meet you for coffee, where I can see that there's a feeling around balance. And there's space for me next to you, right? And you're looking for that and would prefer that if things were different in your life and space. Yeah, and then you need me to be that balance, if you will, right? It may seem as if it's some version of a flaw. I think somehow we've been taught this, that it's a flaw to need people. Men that are walking around knowing, there are men walking around knowing that they would prefer, that they would want, that they desire, that they need to have this lady next to them. And they're stumbling, working, running, sprinting towards that kind of life and lifestyle. But they often run into ladies who have been trained and socialized and then utilize this language around, I don't need a man. And it's either I don't need a man, I say it, or I don't need a man, I behave like it. And then it doesn't leave space for that man to see that position right next to you, it's available, and I can fit into that spot.
So we need to make space. If we want men, one of Maria's just commenting how important to have a partner who leads for women. I happen to know that she's a woman, and she resonates with this topic because maybe wasn't room. It is important for us to make that room. And when we make that room, it's important to choose a partner who is able to step into that role. It's a kind of a catch-22. If we don't make room, we attract people who only want to fit into the 1% of space that we've made available. If I just and to fix my things around my house, I'm not going to attract the provider and protector, right? Okay. So interdependence versus independence, and how to practice this balance between making room for the type of partner that we want. I think that's a really important aspect to highlight once again, that it's perfectly okay to not want a partner who wants to lead, right? Be prepared to put your big girl pants on and to lead yourself. It's a bit like on the dance floor, right? If you want to be the girl leading, then you better don't dance with somebody who wants to lead, because it's not going to look great. It's going to be a bit of a clash on the dance floor. And that you mentioned, I've already forgotten. Tell me again.
Developing the healthy masculine traits, right? It's fine to have them. Nothing wrong with that at all. But it really aligns with the comment that you made around leading and following on a dance floor. If you have two leaders out there, then it's going to be there's going to be conflict, right? Because who's playing which role. And I think I've shared this with you, if not that this be a surprise, I guess, but I think I may have said this. There have been times on a dance floor where I've said to backdrop, for those that don't know, both Valentine and I participated in a partner dance, right, where they're lead in a follow position. And I've been dancing with a lady who's in the follow position, but I feel there's some conflict there. She's wanting me to do certain things, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But then I'll pause and I'll say, hey, would you just prefer to lead? Right? Because if that's what you want to do, then just be in the lead position. Don't try to lead me from the follow position, right? And that creates conflict. And then they'll say, well, no. I really want to follow. I'm working on some things. I say, okay, I'm happy to help you work through it, right? And now we've had a conversation, right? And because my dancing conversation wasn't, she wasn't able to hear it, or I wasn't able to deliver that, I may have to pause and just, hey, let's have a verbal conversation. Let me make sure that I'm being as clear as I possibly can be about the kind of leader I'd like to be for you. Would you like that kind of leader in your life for the next 3 minutes, right? And if not, it's okay, right? Now we can just reorganize. Yeah. On a grander scale, a deeper scale with relationships, the same thing can occur. Yeah. You know, if we're going out on a date, Valentina and I, and it's our first date, we may need to discuss on the front end, what are we going to do about payment, and what are we going to do about location selection and all these other kinds of things. Who's gonna manage that, and how do we feel? Maybe feel is not exactly the right word. Are we comfortable with that, right? And there'd be nothing wrong with that either, especially in today's dating and relationship marketplace.
We probably have a fight like we had in 7-Eleven in Thailand. Anyway. I'll tell everybody about this another time. You know, to summarize that third point, I probably would phrase it more like a healthy balance between the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves, so that we know when it's okay for a person who identifies as female to be leading in that particular situation, even if it is for a 3-minute dance, and when it's okay to let go of that control. And as a dancer, I know how difficult it is for an independent woman to let go of that control. All right. So thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone else. And thank you, James, for this contribution. We've gone on for way longer than we wanted, but it's always so much fun to talk to you. And hopefully it was fun for the people who've joined us. I will obviously post this video that hopefully Instagram saves for us on my profile and share it with you. And if there are any questions or comments from our followers and viewers, please feel free to contact me directly or James directly if you want to find out more. And we are planning to do this every Tuesday night Hong Kong time at this time, 9 p.m. Hong Kong, and whatever 7 a.m. wherever James is in the world. But we never know where James is, so it's a little bit difficult to pinpoint location. So I will post in advance the topic for next week. We might just for fun discuss the top 3 qualities that women like in men, just so that we have balance, because we like balance. Gentlemen and ladies out there who are joining live and who are going to watch this video, do let us know what you think are the top 3 qualities that we admire in men. I have my own, so we're probably going to share that and discuss it with James. We have any feedback from you guys. So lots of love. Thank you so much. Thank you, James. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and sorry to wake you up so early. But
that's all right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Love you lots, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you on the next live next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye, everyone.